What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering. I have some good news, some happy news. I've got another 3 videos today to keep you entertained. Don't miss anything that I've uploaded in the last day. Yesterday, I did 4 videos where I responded to a Medium article about me that was ridiculous. Ricky Berwick totally destroying MTV, the League of Legends walkout, as well as Apex Legends banning nearly 1 million accounts. Definitely, if you're interested in any of those, make sure to check it out. Also, update, YouTube added this join button to my channel, which has been awesome because a bunch of you have already decided to back. Essentially, it's like a Twitch subscription, but YouTube creators keep more than Twitch creators do, a bigger chunk, something like 75%. And it goes a long way. So if you're in the spot to support, that would be awesome. If not, totally not required, just happy you're here and that I hope you enjoy the video. Now, I want to say, as with any musings or accusations or anything, as much as I dislike the way that Randy Pitchford acts, okay, specifically the way he acts on Twitter, like a petulant child at times, it is important to remember before I go into these details that just like with everything in the Me Too world, this is an accusation, and just because you may not like Randy Pitchford, like myself, that doesn't mean the accusations are any more likely to be true. I have reached out to his accuser and asked for more information. He has yet to respond. I doubt he will. I would like to ask Randy Pitchford for a comment, but he blocked me on Twitter, and these are the only ways I have to get in touch with these people. So let me start at the beginning. Last week, it started to come out where Claptrap had been voiced by a different person in Borderlands 3 as opposed to Borderlands 1 and 2. And I guess it was kind of a controversy at first, but then people started talking. And then Gearbox released a little statement to their video game buddies, and now David Eddings, the previous voice actor for the character, has dropped some huge news. So whether or not you find Claptrap to be one of the most grating characters in Borderlands, it was hard to miss how slightly different he sounds in Borderlands 3. The reason why is Claptrap sounds different in Borderlands 3 is simple. It's the original voice actor David Eddings won't be reprising the role in a sequel. When Eddings played Claptrap in earlier Borderlands games, he worked at the developer Gearbox as the studio's vice president of licensing and business development. The detail is crucial because according to Eddings, he wasn't paid for earlier performances. Now, this has been refuted, or at least endorsed indirectly by Randy Pitchford, and we're going to get to that in a minute, but it's actually saying that people that worked at Gearbox often would do extra voice work, but I find it curious they weren't paid. So, when he finally did request a fee for returning to voice Claptrap in Borderlands 3, since he's no longer with the company, he wasn't offered one, and thus the role went to somebody else. Eddings revealed these details on Twitter, adding that Gearbox told him they, quote, couldn't afford to hire him to work the sequel. This is his original reply from 5 days ago that started all of this. Somebody asked, hey, are you still Claptrap? He replies, no. For the first time, I insisted on getting paid for my performance, and all of a sudden, they couldn't afford me. Now, I'm not telling them how to run their business, but maybe next time they should put the $12 million payment from 2K in Gearbox bank account instead. Just saying. Now, this is referring back to a controversy that alleges Randy Pitchford funneled off a large cash payment of $12 million, which was supposed to go as bonus payments to the Gearbox employees that they never got. Interestingly, Gearbox's account is different. Well, it's surprising. In a statement to IGN, the developer said it offered Eddings an industry standard rate but wasn't able to reach an agreement. Gearbox works to treat and compensate all voice actors at industry standards. We offer the opportunity for salaried employees to voice characters in the game, but is not mandatory responsibility for their job requirements. In this particular case, now that he was no longer with the company or an employee, we offered him an industry standard rate, but we are not able to reach an agreement. We are confident and happy with Jim Foronda as the voice of Claptrap, as we are confident our fans will be too. Gearbox CEO Randy Pitchford also chimed in on Twitter, saying Eddings was made a relatively generous offer to reprise the role, adding in a follow-up tweet that it was twice the union rate. Now, Randy goes on to say, by the way, Randy should really absolutely not be replying to these things on Twitter, but that's part of the reason that he makes so many mistakes and he steps in it so often. Mr. Eddings was paid very handsomely during his employment. After his employment, he was made a relatively generous offer to reprise the role. Unfortunately, turned that opportunity down. Now, Randy is he is misdirecting here, using some sleight of hand, if you will, to insinuate that because David Eddings made good money in his day job, that he should be happy with suboptimal pay on the voice acting. I'm not sure what the misdirection there is, but now things are getting spicy as David Eddings has now accused Randy Pitchford of assaulting him. But let me talk a little bit about the story. So originally, you could see Randy's first meltdown 2 days later on the 4th, where he goes, he was offered 2 times scale, twice union's rates. He refused the offer. He goes on to say, there was no, quote, force. He wanted it and reveled in it. The issue today is that Mr. Eddings is bitter and disgruntled about having been terminated. He was offered 2 times scale. He refused. I don't want him to do it unless he wants to do it, as motivation affects performance. Now, this is a very pompous statement from Randy Pitchford, multimillionaire and purveyor of magical tricks held on a thumb drive and left at medieval times dinner places for people to read. It doesn't matter. You know, the thing is, as a CEO, it doesn't really matter if this is true or not. You really shouldn't be talking about former employees like this on a personal level. Do I believe that David Eddings has some salt or an axe to grind with Randy Pitchford? Based on the data and based on the way he talks about him, yes, I believe that. Do I believe that he wanted to voice Claptrap, but let that get in his way? Probably. Egos are a very powerful and also very dangerous thing. But this prompted a tweet storm from David Eddings, which absolutely blew the lid off everything, saying, I was fine moving on after Gearbox, but when my former boss starts mouthing off about various aspects of my employment, including how highly I was compensated. Before reading this in full, I told you. That's exactly it. You don't talk about another man's money, all right? And man is also you can use for woman. You don't talk about someone else's money, especially if you're the dude who's making all of the money, all right? And how generous he is. I feel obligated to correct the record. I had a lot of mixed feelings about when being asked to reprise the role of Claptrap late last year, and eventually realized I was willing to put our differences aside and do something cool for Borderlands fans with my friends at Gearbox. I ultimately offered to do it for, quote, free in exchange for past royalties owed, plus an apology for something I've never spoken publicly about until now. Randy physically assaulted me in the lobby of the Marriott Marquis at GDC 2017. Boom. Now that is big. Personally, I think Randy's been on tilt for the past 2 years. He's not the victim he portrays himself to be. I even blocked him a couple years ago for stalking me on social media. Enough is enough. Now, this is often the behavior of a lot of people that get involved in social justice. I'm just saying that often treat themselves as victims. And we can see the way that he reacted to that. Remember how he absolutely blew his lid about an article correcting the fact that he said there were no microtransactions in Borderlands 3, except there were microtransactions in Borderlands 3, just not the nefarious ones, and he absolutely blew his stack over that. This is the actions of a man on the edge, a man who might be on tilt. It's nice not feeling the need to spot any sleight of hand these days or wonder if the card was chosen or forced. I'm happy to be free of the half-truths and the full-on deceptions. I'm thankful to no longer hear people referred to as muggles like the con man refers to a mark. As an aside, seems a bit conspicuous that he chimed in on my salary but didn't mention anything about the $12 million of revenue he siphoned away from employee royalty pool. FYI, Gearbox employees are asked to take lower salaries with the promise of royalty shares. 2K says they won't give a statement regarding the ongoing lawsuit, but if the allegation is false, then it sure seems a lot easier to deny it since that's the only reason they're mentioned. The whole thing stinks. Yikes. And if we go back to give it, some more context, I'm not sure if Randy deleted this or not. He probably did. But not that long ago. My reaction was about the language that caused readers to believe Game Informer was saying I willfully or misled or worse. Well, Randy Pitchford, the guy at the head of marketing for Aliens Colonial Marines, being accused of lying, boy, shocking. I respect and value Game Informer's role in, well, informing. I do not respect being made out as having lied. Well, you do lie. You said the game didn't have microtransactions, and it does. Well, I'm going to see. Here's where the thread happened. This happened back on the 2nd. Let's see if it's still in here. Nope, I don't think it's here. Well, at one point he said, "Are you really going to F me like this?" Oh, here we go. Yep, he didn't delete it. Well, okay. Good. He goes on an 18-tweet tweet storm after being called out by Andy McNamara. And he doesn't like being called a liar. Well, to be honest, I agree that, the microtransactions in Borderlands 3 are not what, not what exactly I would be referring to as like the nefarious level of microtransactions, but they are absolutely still microtransactions. And you have Randy Pitchford absolutely losing his mind. I actually love Game Informer, held in the highest responsibility. Where is this? I cannot believe that your response here is to double down on the implication made in the tweet that I was being misleading. Watch the stream for yourself. If I was doing the opposite of being misleading, this was the most transparent preview I've ever heard of. I mean, the thing is, Pitchford, not my fault that in their haste to make a poopy clickbait Twitter headline, Game Informer failed to respect the context of the sentences. I was literally seconds before the word microtransaction was uttered. But F you very much, you semantically pedantic troll. This is the CEO. Either you've never played Borderlands 2 or you're just being an F-wit troll. Kindly F off. Borderlands is the gold standard with downloadable content and customer value post-launch. I mean, this is what a CEO is doing. See, Game Informer, this is what your F-witted tweet is doing. Please correct your BS. This user believes and has called me a liar because of your incomplete context and clickbait BS. You're better than this. I mean, really? You're going to shame them over all of this? And this is all, by the way, this is all in response. Here's the original reply. Why would you guys F me on this? This is beyond me. Thanks a lot. I mean, despite Gearbox CEO Randy Pitchford's comment about no microtransactions in Borderlands 3 during today's live stream, we've been told cosmetic items are still purchasable. That is a reasonable headline. I think, you only have so much room to put it in a headline. But, I mean, this is just to highlight how Randy Pitchford seems to be acting like a petulant child. Now, original Claptrack voice actor, Gearbox CEO claims Gearbox CEO Randy Pitchford assaulted him. And we talked about all of this. Now, it's interesting to see if, Eddings started a Twitter thread response to Pitchford's calling him bitter and disgruntled, noting that fans shouldn't blame the team at Gearbox for the CEO's antics. Earlier this week, Pitchford went off on a Twitter tirade on what he believes was a mischaracterization of his statement at Borderlands 3 gameplay reveal event regarding microtransactions in the game. Now, to me, it's clear that Randy Pitchford is prone to flying off the handle, which is why he receives the criticism he does. To me, it's very likely that he did have things boil over with a former employee, that it would appear that there's an axe to grind between both of them, that it would appear that there are deep-rooted issues between Mr. Eddings and Randy Pitchford. The difference is one of them is a CEO of a multi-million-dollar company, and the other one is a former employee. Think about that. If you have the CEO of your company engaging in basically what would appear to be slanderous statements about ex-employees and addressing every employee's comings and goings, that is not a good thing for your company. That is not how a real CEO acts. This is very indicative of what is wrong with the gaming industry. When you have leadership at the top level acting like this, can you imagine what the people that report to them probably act like? And on top of that, can you imagine what the people that report to him have to endure if this is how he acts publicly for everyone to see on Twitter? I am of the mind that everything David Eddings has probably said is probably true. Other people inside of Gearbox have given me horror stories about working with Randy Pitchford. I believe they are true. I believe Randy Pitchford is a petulant child who is obsessed with money and has some sort of weird victim complex. For a guy with everything, he sure acts like an insane person.